pastor of the True Holiness Saints Center in the beautiful city of Conway, Arkansas. And you know what time it is. It's Wednesday word time. So what is our Wednesday word for tonight? Our Wednesday word is self-care. Let me begin tonight's message by answering two fundamental questions as it relates to self-care. The first fundamental question is simply this: what is self-care, Pastor Maltbill? And I think I'll begin by simply saying this: self-care has absolutely nothing to do with being a selfish person. That's not self-care. It has absolutely nothing to do with being self-centered or egotistical. Those are not self-care. Self-care has nothing to do with only thinking of yourself. So what is self-care? Here's the definition: anything you strategically do to preserve, improve, or enhance your personal well-being. That's self-care. The second fundamental question is simply this: why is self-care so important? The first reason I think self-care is important is because it helps us to better cope with the stressors of our daily life. Self-care helps us to decrease our anxiety level, but it also helps us to maintain our inner peace. Self-care is important. It's important because it helps us to prevent burnout. Self-care helps us to push pause in our lives on a regular basis, to give us time to replenish, to refocus, and to get some much needed rest. Self-care is important. Self-care, quite frankly, increases our happiness. When you make taking care of yourself, spirit, soul, and body, a priority, you become a much more happy person. And so what I want to do tonight in the short time that we have together, I want to share 3 thought-provoking questions that will help you to improve your self-care. 3 thought-provoking questions that will help you to improve your self-care. So if you're writing notes, write this down. Point number 1. I am proud of myself for the following 6 things. And I want you to write that down. I am proud of myself for the following 6 things. Here's what I know about self-care. Every now and then, you've got to encourage yourself. That's what David did in 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 6. The King James says this: and David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all of the people was grieved, every man thinking of his sons and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Sometimes all of us have to find the tenacity and the strength and the fortitude to encourage ourselves. And I want you to understand, it's okay to pat yourself on the back and to acknowledge when you've done a good job. So I want you to stop for a moment and think, what are 6 things that I can write down that I am proud of, that I have accomplished? It's okay to celebrate your talents and your victories in life. It's okay to celebrate your the progressive nature in your life, even if you've only progressed a little bit. What are the things that you can celebrate? I thank God that I've already been to the gym multiple times this week. I thank God that I've drunk more water than I did last week. They don't have to be great big things, but I think all of us need to find some things that we can encourage ourselves about. I'm excited about this accomplishment. I'm excited about this victory. I'm excited that I'm progressing in this area of my life. Here are 6 things that I'm excited about, that I'm proud of myself. If you want to improve your self-care, you got to learn to celebrate yourself when nobody else will celebrate you. So the first one, I, E.C. Maltby, am proud of myself for the following 6 reasons. But then secondly, I encourage you, write this down. I, E.C. Maltby, insert your name. I forgive myself for the following 4 things. Yeah, I forgive myself for the following 4 things. Write those things down. Here's what I know for sure. Once you ask God for forgiveness, you've got to learn how to forgive yourself. Paul understood this principle. The Apostle Paul says in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14. Paul says, brothers and sisters, I don't consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. What Paul was really saying is, don't get it twisted. I'm a work in progress. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead. Verse 14 says, I press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Listen, always remember, the past is the past and you can't change it. So if I can't change my past, Pastor Maltby, what do I need to do? Here it is. You need to apologize for the things you've done wrong. You need to ask people for forgiveness. You need to make amends wherever necessary. But then you've got to learn from that mistake. You've got to correct your behavior, and you've got to simply move on. If you want to improve your self-care, you've got to quit holding those things from the past against yourself. When you ask God to forgive you, He has forgiven you. You've got to forgive yourself. You've got to learn from that mistake. You've got to correct your behavior. And last but not least, you've got to move on. So when it comes to self-care, number 1, you've got to encourage yourself. Write 6 things down that you are proud of. I am proud of myself for the following. Secondly, I forgive myself for the following 4 things. Write them down. Forgive yourself. Remember it's under the blood. And simply move on. But here's the last one tonight. I am committed to the following 3 things that will enhance and make my life better over the next 90 days. So we talked about the things we celebrate. We talked about the things we need to get past. But finally, we need to talk about the things that will make us better. It's all about goal setting. It's all about looking ahead. Habakkuk 2:2 from the King James says, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. You've got to write your goals down. When you don't write them down, they're simply a pipe dream. Here's what I encourage you to do. I told you to write down 3 goals, things you're trying to improve. But I encourage you to write 1 for your spiritual life, write the second one for your emotional well-being, and write the third one for your physical health. Here's a good example. For my physical health, I might commit to drinking at least 3 bottles of water a day. That means every time I eat a meal, instead of getting a soda or a cup of coffee, I'm going to drink a bottle of water. Maybe you say, I'm going to walk 20 minutes a day for at least 3 days in the week. I'm not trying to overexert myself and work out for hours on end, but I'm going to do something for my personal health. Maybe from a spiritual perspective, you say, you know what? During the week, every morning I wake up, I'm going to read a simple devotional. Not going to miss a day. Doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be a chapter. Maybe it's on your phone. But every morning during the week for 90 days, I'm going to read a positive devotion before I go on my social media platform. Another thing you might say, at least once a week maybe, you fast for 3 hours after you wake up. You push your plate back. You fast, you pray. But you've got to do something for your physical health, something for your spiritual health. And then lastly, you need to do something to enhance or improve your emotional well-being. Maybe you commit for the next 90 days, at least once a week, I'm going to do wellness checks with my family and friends. That means whether I call them, text them, direct message them, or reach out to them on FaceTime or Zoom, at least once a week, I'm going to ask them how they're doing. At least once a week, I'm going to pause and say a prayer for one of my family members. Here's what I've done down through the years. Every now and then, I pick up my phone, I go through my call log, and the last 5 people I've talked to on my phone, I take a moment and pray for them. What are the 3 things you're willing to do to make your life better over the next 90 days? And one thing I would encourage you to do for your emotional well-being is every day commit to 15 minutes of me time. 15 to 30 minutes of just pausing, press pause and relaxing. 15 to 20 minutes of doing something that makes you smile. 15 to 20 minutes of something that will lower your stress level. Our Wednesday word tonight is self-care. Self-care is the things you do strategically to preserve, improve, and enhance your well-being. We need to do it to reduce our stress. We need to do it to prevent burnout. And we need to do it to increase our overall happiness. Until we speak again, my friends, be blessed.